Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. First of all, if you are new here, thank you for watching. I post new book reviews almost every single day on a wide variety of books, both fiction and nonfiction. So if you're looking for reading inspiration for the summer or the coming winter, or you just like following book reviews, then feel free to stick around. Now let's talk about today's book. Today I'm going to be reviewing volume 13 in the series No Matter How I Look at It, It's You Guys' Fault I'm Not Popular by Nico Tanigawa. So this is what the cover looks like, and I'm going to talk about the series up to this point, what I think happens or changes in volume 13, and my thoughts and feelings on this volume. So a little background, I'm going to assume you don't mind if I talk about things that have happened previous in the series in this review because this is a review of volume 13. However, if for whatever reason you clicked on this but you don't want to be spoiled about things that happened previous in the series, then maybe click off or start for my videos on my review of the series from the beginning. So previously in this series, we have been following Tomoko. Tomoko is our main character, and she is this girl right here. Tomoko had entered high school in volume 1 very confident. She was sure that she was going to rock this high school experience because she had had a lot of experience playing video games where she was a high school girl. She thought she was going to have the romance, the popularity, the looks, and she went in with a lot of expectations for her high school career, for lack of a better word, and they did not all pan out. So Tomoko was hit by reality quite quickly. When she entered high school, she was incredibly awkward. She has a lot of social anxiety. She probably has some depression, and as a result of both her actions and some of these things that she struggles with, she found herself outside main social groups. She was very isolated and very lonely, and she was also a little self-destructive. When situations would come up where a person in the class would reach out, she tended to lash out or say something or put her foot in her mouth and perpetuate this cycle where she was incredibly lonely. This series, I want to make very clear if you're thinking about reading this series, it starts out in a pretty dark place, especially the first couple volumes. Tomoko is very lonely, she's struggling to make any sort of connections, and it's at this point in time in someone's life, their teenage years, where they most want to make connections, where they really care a lot about being accepted by their peers, and where having a friend group is seen as both something that they should have and something that they really desperately want. Fitting in is important to teens, so Tomoko both finds herself on the outside, but also finds herself on the outside at this very important time in her life and development. So she is incredibly lonely, and it is very dark at the beginning, but I promise you this series gets better, as I'm going to talk about. Better as in things get better for Tomoko. I think the series is always pretty good, but it does get better for Tomoko. So if you want to start this series and you start at the beginning and you think this is quite dark, it does get better. I promise it does get better. Tomoko, however, experiences a lot of personal growth throughout this series. I feel like this series really is a very realistic portrait of someone's personal growth throughout a difficult period of their time. So Tomoko does not just wake up one day magically better. She no longer has any anxiety, her depression's gone, she has a bunch of friends. There's not one magical moment where everything comes together for Tomoko and it's never awkward again, and those awkward moments are just for fun laughs and no one thought she was weird ever. That doesn't happen. Tomoko's personal growth and progression is very realistic in that she takes a lot of steps back and she still does a lot of things that are quite embarrassing, and the growth is very slow and incremental, but I feel like because of those factors, her growth is also very realistic. Her growth, while incremental, is more representative of how people actually grow and change when they're changing their behavior for certain reasons. Now, there's been some key moments up in the series up to volume 13 where Tomoko has been starting to make these little connections with her classmates. She started to talk to people, she started to hang out with people. There was a class trip that was really pivotal in making connections with other people, and really that was what Tomoko missed out on when she first started high school, was making those key connections. Because when everyone started high school, everyone was kind of on the same platform. Now some people may have gone to middle school together, but a lot of people still needed to make those connections, those first friends, and when Tomoko fell out of that cycle, it was very difficult for her to get back in. But these class trips provide an opportunity for her to get to know people, and she started to do that. Her growth has been her slowly coming out of her shell, slowly, imperfectly, but overall she is making progress. So Tomoko, we've been watching her progress, she has these connections, and this series follows her in her third year class trip. Something you notice right away is the number of people on the covers. A lot of the earlier volumes would have just Tomoko or Tomoko and one other person on the cover. I think maybe one of the other volumes had 3 people on the cover, and that's kind of representative, I feel like, as we go through the series, of really her friend group. Initially, she's incredibly lonely, she just has herself, but slowly her circle has been widening. And in this volume, on this volume's cover, we have quite a number of people. Tomoko has been making those connections and really growing as a person, and this is, I feel like, represented right away by the cover. So in this 3rd year trip, they are going to Mousieland, which is, I'm assuming, copyright-free Disneyland, and they are going as a group. Tomoko has been on numerous class trips before, or at least a couple of class trips before, and each one I feel like goes a little better than the last. In this one, because Tomoko has these established connections and of course different dramatic events that are going on in different friend groups, she actually attracts quite a large group to go with her during this class event, this class trip. She has all these different, I don't want to call them misfits, but these people in her class start to come and hang out with her and join her group, and as she gets, it's like a snowball. As she gets a couple more people, then more people want to join, then more people want to join, and slowly she has this quite large group that she's going around Mousieland with all together. I feel like this volume kind of touches on a couple things. The first is Tomoko, when she was really in the depths of despair, she had this coping mechanism where she judged the thing that she wanted. When a girl had a lot of friends and was really into fashion, she was like, well, they're just an airhead and they're just stupid and I don't want that. But it wasn't that, well, she may have actually thought that, but it was a coping mechanism because Tomoko actually wanted to have the friends and the connections, and she plays all these games, so she clearly wanted, at least at some point, to be involved with like a friend group and to have people to go shopping with. So it's almost like a defense mechanism to say, actually, I don't want it, and I think that's really dumb, so that you're not hurt by the fact that you don't have it. And as a result, I feel like she had this mentality that sometimes you can get where like, everyone has it better than me, everyone has it easier than me, I'm the only one struggling with this. But Tomoko, or I don't know how much Tomoko as a character is realizing it, but of course the reader gets a little bit more of an omniscient view of the whole thing. You realize that not everyone in her class has these perfect friend groups. There's imperfections in friend groups, there's fights in friend groups, there's things that don't go smoothly all the time, and not everyone is having an easier time than Tomoko, even though it can appear that way from the outside. So I think that was just something to keep in mind, and something Tomoko's starting to realize, that not every group of people just has this perfect high school life, and she's the one who's out. Although she was quite socially isolated and lonely for quite a bit of her early high school career, not everyone else had a perfect, flawless high school beginning either, or a high school career either, and she needs to recognize that she's not alone in all of this. Second, Tomoko, some of the other girls who start hanging out with Tomoko will say things or mention things like, you know, she's always herself. Now, Tomoko has some odd interests that aren't exactly mainstream, that she definitely isn't afraid of showing. There's points early in the series where Tomoko tries to be someone else, where she's like, I saw this on TV, so I'm going to try this strategy in class to make people like me. And most of the time she winds up falling flat because it's not her. It's not really who she is as a person. She's trying to be someone else. But for the most part, she can't keep up the act, and she just is herself. Now, there is a lot of anxiety, there is a lot of things that are just socially off, but her core personality, Tomoko never really strays from. She likes what she likes, she's unapologetic about it, and this does not justify her being mean to other people. You are not better than anyone else for liking something that's less popular, or you're not better than someone else because someone else's interests maybe are more mainstream or popular or accepted. However, people do respect Tomoko for sticking to what she likes. She's not apologetic about what she likes, and that can kind of garner a little bit of respect when you don't really deviate from who you are as a person, or you don't hide things about your personality to maybe try to be more liked. Like there's another girl who was interested in voice acting but didn't want to say anything because I think maybe she had some worries about how her friends would react, and she wanted to more keep the peace and fit in with everyone, where Tomoko never really has tried to hide things very hard. She has a difficult time really repressing the things she likes and the things that she enjoys as a person, and people do tend to have a little bit of respect for her for that reason. Something that I think we notice in this volume and that I really like about this volume is previously her classmates just felt like one big homogenous group. Sometimes she had interactions, but most of the time they were just kind of viewed, and as a reader in the art, we just kind of got this sensation that they were just a whole mass of people. They were the others, and there was Tomoko. Tomoko versus everyone else. Tomoko had no connections with anyone else, but slowly but surely, Tomoko has made all these connections, and especially this entry in the series where she's going around a class trip with everyone, there is really the sense that her class is no longer this homogenous group of all these other people that she doesn't really have any connections with, but they're, for lack of a better term, I don't know how to say this, they're real people. They're not just the others, they're not just the classmates, but they have names, they have personalities, they have likes, dislikes, strengths, their own friend groups, their own worries, their own passions, and things they want to do in the future. And I think you can see that in the art. For example, some of the classroom scenes where in previous volumes might just be a mass of people, the artist is now taking the time to draw out the different people that Tomoko has connections with. So all of a sudden, instead of having this sea of people and then Tomoko, we have Tomoko and this person and this person and this person and this person in the art scene, which I feel like just shows the attention to detail in the sense that the class is now well, the same number of people are in the classroom, but it's starting to fill up with connections and the people that Tomoko knows. It's like when you join any class, maybe when you first start, you don't know anyone in the class and it just feels like a bunch of other people. But by the end of the class, they're all people that you know, that you have connections with, that you have stories with, maybe some that you like more than others. So the class has filled up with these connections with each other, and that's what Tomoko, I think, is experiencing in her classroom. The one little critique that I think the authors should consider adding to this series, I don't know if the series is done, and of course they can't go back and do this to volume 13, but at the beginning this wasn't a big deal because there was just like Tomoko, her brother, and Tomoko's friend from middle school, who were basically the only characters that we had to pay attention to. Everyone else that she was interacting with were really just nameless people that she was being embarrassing in front of. But now that we have developed quite a number of connections and there's a lot of people that Tomoko is interacting with, I think it would be really helpful to have a page in the front that has the character list on it. That's something that a lot of manga series I know do, even series that don't have a ton of people, like the series Kaguya-sama Love is War that doesn't have a massive character list, but they still have a list of characters in the beginning. Or I'm thinking also the series Haikyuu. Haikyuu has a whole list of the roster of all these teams that they're playing, and I think it's really helpful when maybe there's a character that you have forgotten the name of, you can reference the little list in the front with pictures and names and a little blurb about each character. I just find that super helpful. I didn't mind in the beginning that they didn't have this because there really weren't enough characters to warrant having a page like that, or to make necessary a page like that. But now that there are more characters, I would like to see that added to the front so that we could just we could reference that as needed when we come across a character that we don't know. Overall, I like the direction the series is going. As I said, the growth in the series is incremental, but the payoff is more rewarding because the growth is incremental, and you are getting the payoff now, you're getting the connections, you're getting the friendships, and I want to see Tomoko finish off third year strong and in good form and with those connections. Her high school dream has not turned out exactly the way that she envisioned it, but how many things in life actually turn out the way you envision it? And just because it doesn't turn out the way you envision it doesn't mean it's not bad. I think she's starting to realize there's a lot of good things that can come out of her high school career. Just because it didn't turn out like the video game she was playing in middle school doesn't mean it wasn't bad. Even though the first half was kind of rocky, doesn't mean she can't have good memories and good friendships that carry on through high school. And I think overall this series could have a very positive ending as she goes through third year. I don't know where the series ends. I don't know how much longer the series goes, but I am looking forward to reading the rest of the series. If you've read the series and have any thoughts, comments, things you want to share, please put in the comments below. I'd love to read it. Also, I love getting your guys' suggestions. I'm getting close to the end, or I'm starting to get in the later half of a lot of the manga series that I'm reading, so I love getting suggestions for new ones to start. I will try to get my hands on them and read them. I love the suggestions. If you have anything you want to share, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.